Welcome back to Normal Baseball. Today we're going to be going through our 2023 Baseball Hall of Fame ballots. Let's get into it. What's going on? Welcome back to Normal Baseball. I'm Alex Normal Dog. That is Lewis. And today we are going to be doing something good. We have our Hall of Fame ballots for the 2023 Hall of Fame selection season. As this podcast comes out, we will be one day away from the selections being announced from the baseball writers. That happens on January 24th. There's a lot of good options this year. I have seen some voters who decide to not vote at all.
Which is the stupidest thing that anybody can do when it comes to voting.
It's horrible. You give these people the right to vote for the most prestigious honor, and they choose to not vote for anyone, which is ridiculous.
Take the ballot away.
Take the ballot away.
Take the ballot away.
And there's some people that have done that for the last, 5-10 years.
Yep.
They just never vote.
Over and over and over again, and the Baseball Hall of Fame committee still decides to send them a ballot and not send it out to people who actually care.
It's ridiculous. But we are today going to go through our ballots. We're going to say everyone, all the first year ballots, second year, third year, fourth year, etc. And we're going to be saying who we think should be in the Hall of Fame, or who should be elected to the Hall of Fame. There's definitely I would hope at least one person you have, because I have a few different people.
Maybe.
So let's just get right into it. Why don't we? This year, the first year players on the ballot, which basically just a kind of overview, to be elected into the Hall of Fame, you need at least 75% of voters to vote for you. And to fall off the ballot, you need less than 5% of people voting for you. So if less than 5% of people vote for you, you fall off the ballot. So that's why they put so many first-year players in the ballot, because a lot of them get less than 5%, and a lot of them fall off the ballot, which we'll see. So the first year Hall of Fame ballot nominees. I'm just going to run through the list here really quick. Bronson Arroyo, Carlos Beltran, Matt Cain, J.J. Hardy, Mike Napoli, Francisco Rodriguez, Jared Weaver, R.A. Dickey, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, John Lackey, Johnny Peralta, Houston Street, and Jason Worth. I definitely think we won't be seeing a lot of those names on the ballot next year. What do you think?
I definitely agree with you that, as upsetting as it is to say, all of these first-year guys, I think it's safe to say that at least a fourth of them will not be making a return to the second-year ballot. But there is a compelling case, and to even just make the ballot, I think, is also something that we should not overlook. It's still an accomplishment to be considered for the Hall of Fame. But I don't think that 25% of the first-year guys, at minimum, will be returning.
It's fair. Who are a couple of guys that you don't think are going to come back?
One guy who I don't think is going to come back is probably going to be, what's his name? Where did his name go? I was just looking at it. R.A. Dickey. As upsetting as it is to think about, I don't think that we're going to see him make a comeback. I mean, just the numbers aren't there and really up to caliber with all the other pitchers that are in the Hall of Fame or that are even on the ballot. I think R.A. Dickey, it is cool because he is really the last full-blown knuckleballer that made a career out of it, I believe. But he is definitely one guy who I don't think will make it past this voting stage.
Yeah, that's fair. I would agree. I mean, his numbers aren't really there. I mean, he pitched a lot of innings every year. Won a Cy Young back in 2012, but I don't know. I agree. I something tells me. But at the same time, I can see him getting 5%. I think he might return to the ballot. I don't think he'll be elected though eventually. Another guy, I don't think we'll see Jacoby Ellsbury on there. He had a lot of good years, but not enough. And
I don't ever remember watching him play.
The end of his career wasn't as great. I don't think really any of these players. Do you think any of these players are going to be elected first ballot this year?
Any of the first balloters?
I do not think we will see a first ballot elected.
Okay.
This year.
So my problem stands with one player when it comes to the first year squad, and that's Carlos Beltran. Carlos Beltran was a great player. I mean, let's not get it twisted at all. Carlos Beltran, let me just get his numbers pulled up here. 70 career WAR player, which 70 is like the not so official, but kind of like that number that they want you to hit to get into the Hall of Fame, where he was just a solid player. He racked up, let's see, how many hits here? How many hits? He racked up 2,700 hits and had 1,500 RBIs, 435 homers, while being a switch hitting outfielder who definitely 110% passes, even in today's game, would pass the eye test of being a great major league player. Was an all-star, I believe, 9 times. He won a World Series, which we'll talk about in a minute. Rookie of the Year, 3 Gold Gloves, and 2 Silver Sluggers. If you just told me that, I would say there's a chance that he gets in first ballot. However, Carlos Beltran was on the 2017 Astros and is the only named player to come out of their 2017 cheating scandal, which is where I think he will fall short. However, if it were not for the cheating scandal, I think that he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
That's fair. I even think with the cheating scandal, I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's not the easiest thing in the world to accomplish. I don't think first ballot. I do agree. I think he'll probably he'll probably get in there eventually. I don't think it'll be first year. I think it'll take a few years to get in there, but I do see him getting in there eventually.
I think that based on the numbers, I think that he should be. I mean, he's part of that like middle ground generation between today's game and like the 90s, because he came up, I believe, in 1998. He had 300 stolen bases too, with more than 300 home runs. 300 club is probably pretty exclusive, and to think that he's a part of that is pretty cool. However, that cheating scandal is just, I think, going to be something that really holds him back, which is upsetting, because if it were not for his age 40 season, I think that he would be getting elected into the Hall of Fame this season.
I even think without the cheating scandal, I don't know if first ballot.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's my opinion. That's just how I feel about it.
I don't know if I could rock with first. I don't know how I feel about first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, I agree. His numbers are, like I said. I mean, I'm agreeing. I think he will be in the Hall of Fame, in the next few years. I don't know if it's this year though.
Okay. I can argue both sides of it. That's the way that I look at it. There's a world where that he could be a Hall of Famer. There's a world where he could not be.
Yep, that's fair. So those are like the first year players. We're not going to go through every single one of the first year players because, like we said, we don't really think any of them are going to be first. Besides the Carlos Beltran debate, we don't think any of them are really going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, which the first ballot is kind of where you see if they're going to stay on the ballot or not. So that becomes more of a discussion when you get to second year, third year, fourth year, all that. There's only 2 second-year balloters this season. That goes to show how many people fall off the ballot. And they are Jimmy Rollins and Alex Rodriguez. Jimmy Rollins last year got 9.4% of the vote. And Alex Rodriguez got 34.3% of the vote. I don't think Jimmy Rollins is going to make a significant jump this year. I do, however, think A-Rod might make a little jump this year, but we'll get into more detail of that later. We're just gonna go through kind of the players right now.
Okay.
Third year on the ballot, we have Torrey Hunter, who just barely managed to stay on the ballot last season with 5.3%.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Not a great sign. He was 0.3% away from falling off the ballot.
No, it's a good sign that he stayed on the ballot, because I think that Torrey Hunter is one of those players that really needs to be recognized for just how good he was. Third year on the ballot was Torrey Hunter and Mark Burley, who Mark Burley also 5.8%. I think both of them are probably going to fall off the ballot this year. Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to go up.
Okay.
They might go up, but they're not going to be eventual Hall of Famers. They're not going to make that big of a jump. That's kind of something that you could tell right away.
Okay.
And you just kind of sit in that limbo zone. Same with fourth year on the ballot, Bobby Abreu. He only got 8.6% of the vote last year.
He's not going anywhere.
Not making it. Same fifth year, Andy Pettit, 10.7% of the vote. The Andy Pettit bobblehead.
Get him in, man.
He's a Reuter. They don't let Reuters in. We've kind of come to see that.
I love Andy Pettit.
We have another interesting fifth year, Todd Helton, who got 52% of the vote last year, which we will talk about. Sixth year, Scott Rowland, a guy who a lot of people lobby for, got 63% of the vote last year. Manny Ramirez got 28.9% of the vote last year. Omar Vizquel, 23% of the vote. Andrew Jones, 41% of the vote. No seventh-year players. All of them fell off.
Manny Ramirez is the seventh year.
Oh, well, then move everything up then. Then everything's moved up 1 year then. So, this is their seventh year. Last year was their sixth year is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Eighth year on the ballot, Billy Wagner got 51% of the vote. So this is his ninth year. And then Gary Sheffield, this is his final year on the ballot, which he has 40.6% of the vote from last year. Now we can get into the fun part. Yeah, what are we trying to figure out here? The ballot, right?
I think...
No, I don't know if you're right.
Let's see.
I mean,
I'm getting it pulled up here. Let's see.
Oh my god. No. Yeah. No, I'm right.
Hang on.
I accidentally put Manny Ramirez in 7th, I believe, instead of 6th. Everything else was right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all we have to say. All right.
Oh, no. And Jeff Kent is the last
10th.
year.
He's 10th year.
This is his last year.
Yes, 10th year on the ballot for Jeff Kent.
Okay.
So Jeff Kent got 32.7% of the vote. He will not be making the Hall of Fame. Gary Sheffield, as sad as it is, he's not going to be in this year. But let's get into the fun part.
All right.
Let's get into the part where we start to make let's make some arguments for some players.
I'm in.
About the Hall of Fame. Let's say who's on our ballot, who we would think should be in the Hall of Fame and why.
Okay, do you want to go? How do you want to do it? Do you want to go year by year?
Give me whoever you want. Okay,
I'm going to go year by year. So I'm going to start off by saying both Jimmy Rollins.
No. Can we one by a time? One at a time.
Okay. So Jimmy Rollins, I think, belongs in the Hall of Fame. The man was an absolute stud when he played. He was the heart and soul of a Phillies team that went to the World Series in 2008 and won it. Went to the World Series in 2009, lost to the Yankees, but still was just an absolute stud. Played the peak of his career in Philadelphia, where he was an All-Star three times, and just never looked back, was always just a great leadoff guy, and I think is more than deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. Along with an MVP. Don't forget that.
I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Okay.
I don't think he has Hall of Fame numbers.
Okay.
It's pretty. I don't think he has Hall of Fame numbers. He batted .264 throughout his career. He won 4 Gold Gloves, but in 17 seasons, 3-time All-Star. 17 All-Stars don't really matter that much, but 4-time Gold Glover, 1-time Silver Slugger. I understand that he won MVP, but he never. I don't think he is. He never really led the league in many stats. I mean, he had speed, obviously. He had 470 stolen bases in his career. Had a lot of triples. He had 20 triples in his MVP season, which is by golly, that's insane.
It's a lot of running.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer though. I think his averages are a little too low. His WAR is a little too low. Accolades might be a little too little. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you right off the rip.
That's fine. If I had a ballot, I would certainly vote for Jimmy Rollins. I think that his play in the game of baseball went beyond the numbers that you can look at today. When you watched him play, when you watched him in that Phillies organization with that team that went to the World Series, that won the World Series, he was the cornerstone of it. He was the perfect guy to fit into that lineup that brought them to a championship. And I just see no reason as to why he wouldn't belong in the Hall of Fame for the level that he played at for such a long time in Philadelphia. That's where
I heavily disagree with that.
I would vote Jimmy Rollins.
I mean, your basis of this is putting him in the Hall of Fame because he was the cornerstone of a championship team for 1 year. I mean, not that he was the cornerstone of the Phillies for 1 year, but he won one championship in 1 year, and he's the cornerstone of that. And he should be in the Hall of Fame for that.
He played how many seasons in Philly?
He played
15 years in Philadelphia, where he was the most important piece of that team, along with Ryan Howard, along with that pitching staff. I just think that baseball is a game where, yes, you can see a quick fall off, and longevity means a lot, especially to the Hall of Fame voters. I think that Jimmy Rollins is one of those cases where he played so well for that 10-year stretch where he really hit his peak that I think he's deserving of the Hall of Fame, even though the numbers are not there.
Yeah, I disagree. 260. I'm a numbers guy. 267 batting average with a 750 OPS in while he's on the Phillies. If you're just looking at his Phillies years, that is not Hall of Fame numbers to me.
No, that's fine.
I wouldn't vote for him personally. You would be in the 9.4% of last year who voted for him, I guess.
I'm proud to be part of that 9.4%. And it's that simple.
I don't know what this guy's thinking. I don't know what this guy's going on in his head.
Do you want to go forward?
Yeah, I'll go with one that seems to be pretty obvious.
Yep.
I'll go with a big one rather than a small one. I'm going to go with Scott Rowland. I think Scott Rowland should be a Hall of Famer. I think it should have happened already. I think he will get there regardless. Whether it's this year or 2 years from now or 3 years from now, I think he will get there. He received 63.2% of the vote last year. Mm-hmm. You need 75%, so he's 12 points down. But just his numbers and when you compare it, I have a very good player comp here. I compared him to Robin Yount, who is a Hall of Famer. The only thing that sets it apart a lot is that Robin Yount did win 2 MVPs. But when you look at the batting average, 281 for Scott Rowland, 281 batting average, 855 OPS, 316 home runs. When you look back at Robin Yount. 285 batting average, so just a little bit higher. 772 OPS, a lot lower. Mm-hmm. 251 home runs, less obviously. He played a lot more games. Robin Yount played, I believe, 3 more years in the major leagues. But Scott Rowe, 2,000 hits, just over. Almost 1,300 RBIs, 500 doubles. He was the Rookie of the Year, 7-time All-Star. That 8-time Golden Glove winner really
at third base
really puts it in there for me. At third base in the NL, won the World Series with St. Louis. Power and average. It's hard to think that Scott Rowland is not a Hall of Famer because he is. He should be.
I think that yes. Well, I agree with you that he should be a Hall of Famer. I think to the ballot, to people who actually fill out the real ballots, I think that those 2 MVPs mean a lot more than you and I might think when comparing him to Robin Yount, who's already
Robin Yount, yeah,
who's already a Hall of Famer. I think that it just means more to them, which is upsetting because third base, I believe, is the most underappreciated position in the Hall of Fame besides relief pitchers. So there is definitely more than enough reasoning as to why Scott Rowland should get in. It's just a matter of if the voters have their heads screwed on right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what your logic is there. I'm just saying I do think he should be a Hall of Famer. I don't think the MVPs is really what sets someone apart. Um, I mean, maybe to the voters, but I think the voters are stupid.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that might be the difference when it comes to the people who actually are voting. Hence why he's not in the Hall of Fame already.
He will be, though.
He should be.
He will be, whether it's this year or next year. I do think Scott Rowland deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he will get there.
Agreed.
Do you want to give us another one?
Yeah, I'll go to the next biggest fish that I believe we can agree on belongs in the Hall of Fame. Arguably one of the best right-handed hitters of all time, Alex Rodriguez. There is zero reason as to why he should not be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he was suspended for PEDs, but that should not take away from his accomplishments of everything that happened before he got popped for roids. It's kind of the same thing with Beltran. You know, like, yes, they cheated, but also they had this illustrious, once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation type of career before the fall-off, where you really, like, nothing really happened, you know? Like, I mean, let's see. A-Rod won 3 MVPs, 14-time All-Star, won a World Series in 09 with the Yankees, 10-time Silver Slugger, won a batting title. I mean, he was great. He was great. On all 3 teams that he played on for his entire career, he was a great major league player. One of the best right-handed swings, one of the best right-handed hitters of all time.
I would agree. However, I do think this is going to become a Barry Bonds situation. Mm-hmm. And I think he will ride in the 65, 70, 72% range. And I think he might never make it because of the steroids. I think it'll be a very similar thing to Barry Bonds. We know that the baseball writers hate voting in people that use steroids and have been popped for steroids.
Yep.
Which is, why Clemens isn't in it, which is why Bonds isn't in it, which has been all the controversy the last couple of years. I think we might see the same kind of thing with A-Rod, which, as disappointing as it is, it's something that just is probably going to happen. Although he did get 34.3% of the voting in his first year on the ballot.
Which is a great start.
It is a very good start. So we'll see what happens. I would agree. I do think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think his numbers are Hall of Fame numbers. And like you said, I think before the steroids, he was this amazing player with an illustrious career. I don't know if the baseball writers are going to wind up voting him in at all, which sucks. But that might be the reality.
Well, do you want to hit the other 2 guys that kind of are being kept out because of steroids right now?
Who are those 2 people? Let's hear it.
Andy Pettitte.
He wasn't going to be in it anyway.
He should be. He's one of the best left-handed pitchers of all time in Lewis's mind.
Yeah, everyone just let's pause and say that he is very biased in that Andy Pettitte was like one of his favorite players growing up. So let's just keep that in mind that he's very biased.
And although he never failed a PED test and never took one himself, Gary Sheffield, time and time again, his name is always linked to steroids. Kind of the same thing with Barry Bonds. Of like everyone kind of knows that he did, but he's never been proven guilty nor innocent. I mean, an amazing career. Let's just get that out of the way. 22 years in the majors, where he racked up a 60 career WAR while batting .292, having 235 stolen bases and 509 home runs. Gary Sheffield was just an all-time power hitter. He was amazing at the plate. However, his name is linked to steroids, which will probably be the reason why he never gets over 75% of the vote.
Yeah, I think he does deserve to probably be in. Don't think he will get in. Obviously, it's his 9th year on the ballot already, and he only managed to get 40% of the vote last season. So I agree. He's getting kept out. I don't think he'll be voted in, which is unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah.
It's just nowadays they don't like voting for steroids, which is why, like we said, Gary Sheffield and Andy Pettitte, I'd argue even without the steroids, I don't know if he would have been voted in anyway.
He's in my Hall of Fame.
That's great.
He's in my Hall of Fame.
I don't think your Hall of Fame holds that much weight just yet.
Oh, just you wait.
I'll wait, but I don't think it holds that much weight just yet.
So let's propose this question to continue the conversation about steroids. Do you think, because people have mentioned this time and time again, do you think there should be like a separate section or a mention of steroids if these guys were to get elected into the Hall of Fame?
No, I think that's why they don't elect them into the Hall of Fame.
No, I'm saying if they were. Let's just say that like the Hall of Fame said, all right, we're gonna let in all the guys who are obviously Hall of Famers that took steroids. We're just gonna put them into like instead of that hallway in which all the plaques are located, it's gonna be like off to the left, and it's gonna say the steroid era of baseball. Nope, you wouldn't do it.
What do you mean I wouldn't do
You
it?
wouldn't. You would not
It's
agree
not
with
gonna
it.
happen.
Would you? No, I'm saying, would you agree with it if it happened?
No.
No.
If you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
You shouldn't have to differentiate why you're a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
If you're a Hall of Famer, you get into the Hall of Fame. That's the bottom of the line, which is why they're not putting these steroid users in, because they don't want them in the same hall as the people that didn't take the steroids.
Yes.
So they would never separate it, I don't think, nor should they. If you get voted into the Hall of Fame, they want you in that hall. They want you with all the other players, and at that point, it's just saying that this guy is one of the greatest baseball players all time. There with all these other people, it shouldn't be differentiated. No.
All right, fair enough. I can both agree and disagree with you.
Yeah. What would your?
I think that if it were to happen of having a separate section for all these steroid users, all the steroid era players that obviously used it, I would agree with it, just because the way that I look at the Baseball Hall of Fame is that you should be able to take someone into the Baseball Hall of Fame up in Cooperstown and tell them the story of all of baseball from start to today, and you're missing out on arguably one of the most crazy offensive environments of all time, with the best hitters of all time being like Barry Bonds, A-Rod, those guys. They're not mentioned in that conversation when they clearly need to be, because they're such a cornerstone of how the game is even today.
I see what you're saying, but I see what you're saying by mentioning everything that's ever happened, but you can still do that without voting them into the Hall of Fame. As much as I do think they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I agree, but you shouldn't put them off to a separate fucking room and say like, oh yeah, these guys existed, but they cheated. Mm-hmm. No. If you make it in the Hall of Fame, you make it in the Hall of Fame. You're with everyone else. You shouldn't be differentiated just because you did steroids for like a couple years. Like,
right.
It's not like, I understand telling the whole story of baseball as a whole in all those years, but they still have stuff in the Hall of Fame from those years. It's not like those years just like they don't talk about it at all, and they don't talk about these people at all. They're just not in the main room. They don't have their own plaque. I still think it's talked
it should
about.
be as cut and dry as they deserve it, and they're never going to get the recognition for it.
But what does that have to do with getting a plaque in another room?
No, I'm saying just about the Hall of Fame in general. Like, all those guys definitely do deserve it.
Oh yeah,
however,
no, they
it's just
deserve.
Never going to happen.
They deserve it. Not going to happen. I feel like people will still know about them for forever, though.
Yeah,
it's not like I don't think their names will be forgotten.
All right.
Everyone knows McGuire, Sosa, Bonds. Everyone knows all those guys. Canseco. He was the biggest kind of guy for that. But yeah, no, I mean, I see the argument. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
Okay, that's fair.
Getting back on track here, another player that I would love to see in the Hall of Fame, Todd Helton.
Mm-hmm.
This will be his 6th year on the ballot. I take that back. This will be his 5th year on the ballot. And he's a Hall of Famer. He got 52% of the vote last year. He's getting there. He'll get there. I don't know if it'll be this year, but he will get there.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's Baseball Reference page is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful. The man had a career .316 batting average. The man had a career .316 batting average, which is awesome.
Yes.
His career WAR
61.8.
61.8. 953 career OPS. 369 career home runs. 2,500 hits. He was robbed of the 2000 NL MVP, which in that year, Jeff Kent won it when Todd Helton led baseball with a .372 batting average and a 1.162 OPS, led baseball in batting average, OPS, slugging, on base percentage, RBIs, hits, WAR, and didn't win the MVP. Absolutely baffling to me, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. 132 career WRC plus, 3-time Gold Glover, 4-time Silver Slugger, 5-time All Star. Todd Helton belongs in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. And to anyone, this goes out to mostly the baseball writers because this seems to be what they do. They harp on the fact that he played in Coors Field, where obviously the conditions of the stadium itself being where it is, and at the time how short the walls were, especially in right field, which is where left-handed hitters would pull to. At the time, that wall was shorter when Todd Helton did play. They're like, oh, the Coors effect made him so much better. He was still a .316 hitter and played half of his games every season on the road. It doesn't matter. Larry Walker got in. There's no reason as to why Todd Helton should not also be in the Hall of Fame right next to him.
I would agree. I mean, on the road, in his career in away games, batted .287, which is still very good. .855 OPS, which is still very good.
Nope.
I mean, I could see the argument for the Coors effect because his numbers were very, very, very good at home, but not enough for you to say, hey, we shouldn't let this guy in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it would be so much different if all of his stats only came from Coors Field, and it was like, okay, well, this guy's obviously just benefiting from the thinner air and stuff, but he was just an all-around stud of a baseball player, and there's no other way to put it.
Well, yeah, and the other argument is, well, okay, maybe his stats were a little inflated by Coors Field. Why don't half the players that play at Coors Field have a .345 batting average and a 1. OPS?
Yep.
Like, he was still an amazing player. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. My argument for Todd Helton is there in my head, and I really do think he should be a Hall of Famer.
All right, that's good. I agree with you on that Todd Helton definitely belongs in the Hall of Fame. Can I move to my next one?
Yeah, go for it.
The next player who I believe should be in the Hall of Fame is one of the most interesting cases for Hall of Fame candidacy. Outfielder for the Atlanta Braves, Andrew Jones. Started his career, basically, full season, he started in 1997. And from 1997 to 2007, this man was just one of the greatest outfielders in baseball at the time. 363 home runs just in that 10-year span with 1,100 RBIs and 135 stolen bases while having a .263 batting average is nothing to just push to the side. Along with winning a Gold Glove he won it 9 out of 10 years, and the only year that he didn't win it was his rookie year. He was one of the greatest outfielders for that 10-year stretch, no question. There's just no debate about it. But the problem is that then his last 5 or 6 years in the big leagues, he fell off a cliff because he hit his peak early, basically.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tough situation because he did have so many bad years.
Mm-hmm. But
I don't know if you can base a Hall of Fame vote.
Those 10 years were so good.
Yes, I understand those 10 years were good, but you can probably take 10 years from a bunch of other players and say, hey, look, these 10 years were really, really good. Let's put them in the Hall of Fame. It's the whole career you're looking at, not just this little snippet of the career, which does kind of sound a little, what are the words I'm looking for? Hypocritical. Now thinking about it, because you say like these steroid users, you look at the whole career,
mm-hmm.
which when you look at baseball writers, they're looking at the whole career. They're looking at the type of guy this guy is. They're looking at what he did. So when you look at Andrew Jones, they're looking at the whole career. And that's why I don't think he will be voted in. They're looking at that whole career.
I believe that he deserves it just because the 10 years are just amazing. I mean, he had a 51 homer season, a 41 homer season, got over 25 home runs almost every time but his rookie year, which is just crazy to think about. I just, in my head, I don't think that there's a reason as to why Andrew Jones should not be a Hall of Famer. However, baseball writers like Alex just mentioned are going to look at the last 5 years of his career and recognize that he fell off a cliff. But those 10 years, and you hear baseball writers talk about it all the time, when it comes to like them being interviewed, them being spoken to, and everything. That yes, those 10 years are amazing, and there are people who recognize that, and that's why he continues to get votes. That they recognize those 10 years, but there are also people who look at the whole career and just think, oh well, he didn't win an MVP every single season. Oh, he wasn't in contention for a Gold Glove every season, an All Star. Like, I think that the stats and everything just don't prove how valuable and how important Andrew Jones was to the Braves outfield for 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he was the best defensive center fielder in those 10 years. Maybe even up there for all time. Won a Gold Glove literally every year in those 10 years. 10-time Gold Glover. It's literally, after that 10th year, he literally fell off a cliff.
Yeah, and that's his demise. But in my book, I think Andrew Jones should get plenty more. How many? Oh, excuse me. What percentage of the vote did he get?
He got 41.
There's no reason as to why he shouldn't have 60 or more percent.
I'm interested to see if he
deserves it. I think he
60 or more. He ain't going up 20. Do you know how Hall of Fame voting?
Oh, I know. But I'm saying there's no reason as to why he shouldn't already have that number.
No. 60 year. I don't know if he'll get there. I don't think he will.
It's going to be close.
I don't think it will.
This is his sixth year.
I think he might ride around 40 for a while. He's not going to jump up that many points that quickly.
We'll find out. Time will tell.
He'll probably end up at like 50-something. He's not getting over 60. But we'll see. He's definitely not making that jump this year, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to look at people who might be in this year, I think obviously Scott Rowland is the biggest.
Yes.
And then you're looking at
I'm
Todd Helton is the next highest. So
mm-hmm.
I do have one more player that I would like to argue for.
Please do.
That player, if I can get back, that player is Billy Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
Because 51% of the vote, he's going into his 8th year of voting, 51% of the vote last year. 7-time All-Star, which, All-Stars kind of take a little less weight. I understand that. However, a 2.31 ERA in his career. 2.31 ERA, 422 saves, which is up there for... That's a lot. That's a lot of saves. He finished 703 games.
Isn't that like 4th all time?
1,196 strikeouts, and he had 11.9 strikeouts per 9. He was one of the best relievers in baseball for a while. So I think he deserves to be in there. I really do. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Billy Wagner is 6th all time when it comes to saves, just trailing 2 behind, I believe, former teammate John Franco, which is interesting. I think that the case and the argument for him is very compelling, especially when you look at the relievers, like how little relievers are represented in the Hall of Fame. However, the most recent case that you look at when it comes to a reliever getting in the Hall of Fame is Mariano Rivera, who's the best closer of all time, and there's no debate about it.
Right, but you can't let the recency bias get like.
Right, but I agree with you that Billy Wagner should be in the Hall of Fame. That I'm just gonna say that right now. He should be. He was a lockdown closer for years. He was electric. He was great. I mean, no matter what team he was on, you saw him be the best version of himself possible whenever he could be. I just think that he's not going to get in this year because they're comparing it to the most recent one, and it's like, oh, we just let in the best of all time. Like who else can get close to that?
No one. Which in that
right.
But by that logic, no other reliever is ever going to make it.
I'm saying no other reliever who's not close, like within arm's
distance.
There is
no one arm's distance. He's
right.
Mariano fucking Rivera.
That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying that no other reliever is going to make it into the Hall of Fame?
I don't think that another reliever will make it into the Hall of Fame soon.
Okay. I think Billy Wagner should be in. Do I think he will get in? Probably not. 51% going into his 8th year. He'd have to make very long jumps. But it's doable. It's in sight. I mean, the guy came in top 10 in Cy Young voting twice. I think he had a great career. But it's a shame. I don't think he'll make it in this year by any stretch, but I do think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, yes. Yes.
I agree with you that he does deserve it, but I just don't think that he's going to get in.
I'd like to go back to the Carlos Beltran scenario, situation. What percent of votes do you think he will wind up getting this year?
What percent of votes do I think Carlos Beltran will get in his first year on the ballot?
Yeah.
So I will admit to you that I have been scoping around the internet, looking at, who's putting their ballots out there, who's saying they're voting for him, not voting for him, everything like that. I'm going to guess that Carlos Beltran might get close to 50%. I'm going to say like between 45% and 55% of the vote, which is crazy to think about, but I think a lot of people are in the same mindset of like, yes, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. However, this is the only guy who is ever named in the Astros cheating scandal, which is the biggest cheating scandal in baseball history.
Yeah.
From a team perspective. That's where I say I'm not sure where it goes. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he got in because he was one of the greatest switch-hitting outfielders that the game has seen. However, he was part of the biggest cheating scandal in baseball history.
Well, he's not getting in this year.
No, I know that.
So what was your final for this year? How many?
Anywhere between 45% and 55%.
I think that's way too high. I think he's going to get lower than that.
Okay.
I think he'll be at somewhere around 30, maybe similar to what A-Rod had, 34. Either between 20 and 30, I'd say. 20 and 30, maybe 35. 20 and 35, I'd be willing to say. I don't think he's gonna be close to 50% this year.
Okay.
That would be a shock to me. But you never know. I mean, like you said, he is one of the greatest switch hitting outfielders of all time, even switch hitters of all time. Dare you say? But I don't know. It's a question. Let us know what you guys think. Comments.
Right down there.
Anything. That was horrible. That was horrible.
What do you mean?
Do that again.
Right down there.
That's horrible. That's horrible. That hurt my face. My face holes. That hurt my face holes. My face. That hurt this right here. Look, he just cut me with what he just did. All right. Anyway, do you have anyone else? I mean, I'm done. Those are my four that I think should get in this season, or my four that I really think should get in: Scott Rowland, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Alex Rodriguez. Those are my four of this season.
Okay. Before I give you who I believe should get in the Hall of Fame this year, we have to mention one more player, Manny Ramirez. All-time Red Sox legend. Let's just get that out of the way right now. All-time Red Sox legend. Another one of those great right-handed bats. Again, popped for roids, I think, twice in his career.
Which is why he's not going to make it.
Definitely not going to make it, but it would be a crime to not mention him just because he is a great
he was an amazing player. He was an amazing player.
He had a, 8-year stretch where he finished in the top 10 of MVP voting in the American League from 1998 to 2005. That is ridiculous. That is just absolutely ridiculous because the hitting environment, not only in Boston with David Ortiz being there, in the AL East with the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, not with all of that, but just in the entire American League, there was just offense everywhere you looked. Barry Bonds won, I think, 3 MVPs in that stretch, and Manny Ramirez...
Well, he was in the NL.
No, but I'm saying, like, the offensive environment in baseball in general was so big, and Manny Ramirez was a massive part of that. He had 3 years where he posted a 1. OPS. 3 years, and 2 of them were back-to-back. He was just an all-time great hitter. Sadly, again, one of those guys who fell off a cliff and tried to get to steroids to keep his career alive, and he got popped for it twice, so he's definitely not going to get in. But, all in all, Manny Ramirez definitely a great baseball player that should be mentioned, but sadly will not be in the Hall of Fame.
No, I agree. I think Manny was one of the greats. I do think big Manny Ramirez guy.
Big Manny Ramirez.
Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Personality-wise, love him. It was just because he got popped, and he's not going to get it.
He was an entertainer. It felt like before anything. I mean, some of my favorite Manny Ramirez moments. him going into the Green Monster from time to time when he would play left field in Fenway Park, him just walking in there was always hilarious. And also, the clip that's been going around the internet actually recently a lot was when he made a running, like, over-the-shoulder sort of catch, and to stop himself from colliding with the wall, he jumped up onto the wall and high-fived a fan and then threw out a runner at third base, which was one of the best moments of all time when it comes to defense. It was just so cool because that's the personality of Manny Ramirez. He's always an entertainer first, and that's how he was. It's just a lot of fun.
I think he's a baseball player first. I don't think
that's part of the reason as to why I say that he should be.
He ain't no Savannah Banana, I'll tell you that.
Oh, he would have been first ballot Savannah Banana. He was great.
All right, well, that's fair. Another guy I want to mention, Omar Vizquel, who is not going to make the Hall of Fame, but his glove was amazing. Amazing defensive player.
Yep.
One of the best all time, without a doubt. That's really it. I mean, Jeff Kent, not going to make it. 32%, he's not making it. We really talked about everyone, and I think that should be the end of the episode.
Well, I didn't get to say my ballot.
Oh, okay. Say who are your players that you want to be in the Hall of Fame this season? Just in general, this season.
All right.
In tomorrow for when this is posted, who will be making it into the Hall of Fame?
Tomorrow, it gets posted on Tuesday.
No, it gets posted on Monday.
And the Hall of Fame's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Okay, just making sure. So I would say that this year, I think it's going to be Scott Rowland and Todd Helton. If I had a ballot and was able to vote on whoever I wanted, I would vote for Scott Rowland, Todd Helton, Alex Rodriguez, Jimmy Rollins, Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, and for the hell of it, I would also vote for Andy Pettitte.
Okay.
Those are my 8 votes.
Okay. I'd only be putting in 4 votes. Billy Wagner, Scott Rowland, Todd Helton, and Alex Rodriguez. Those would be my 4 votes for this year's Hall of Fame.
And Jacoby Ellsbury, right?
That'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening, viewing, subscribing, watching, commenting, sharing. If you enjoyed, share with your friends, subscribe, whatever. Follow the podcast on whatever you're listening on. Let us know in the comments who you think should be in the Hall of Fame this season or next season. You know what I mean. Hall of Fame, this year's ballot. And that should do it. We will see you guys on Wednesday for a news ep. Peace.